With the help of Instacart, we've got dishes that are perfect for your holiday company, perfect for those holiday gatherings, or even perfect on any given weeknight for just you and your family. This Cajun sausage Alfredo is so delicious. I do want to preface it by saying, don't shy away from making this because Cajun does not have to mean spicy. You can leave some of the spice out and it's so, so good. This recipe can easily be doubled, tripled, quadrupled, however much you need. So it's perfect if you're having people over. And you know, when you're prepping for company, the last thing you have time for is spending time in the grocery store. This is made so much easier via Instacart, where you can get your groceries delivered to you in as fast as 1 hour, and you get free delivery on your first 3 orders. I am helping to make food for our church tonight, which means I need a lot of ingredients. Ordering through Instacart is a huge help all year long, but specifically through the holiday season, I feel like it takes the stress out of shopping. So the first thing we need to do is jump online and order everything we need for this. We've been using Instacart for about 4 years now, and I absolutely love the amount of time that it saves me. Head to my description box where you can get the link to Instacart, the holiday rescue app. This Feeding a Crowd recipe is a Cajun chicken Alfredo. It's 1 pot, which is amazing. You can double it, triple it, however much you need, but it makes it so easy that you can make it all over on the stovetop in 1 pot. I'm gonna be doing that, but then I'm actually transferring it to an aluminum pan. And that's because we're gonna be taking it with us somewhere, and it's just a lot easier to take that, and then they'll be sitting in the trays that have sternos under them to keep them warm. So it'll be a lot easier to do it that way, but I love that I can make it all in 1 pot first. I am doubling this recipe, so I'm gonna be using about a 1/2 pound of chicken, starting off by just cutting the chicken breasts in half, like you guys know I love to do. I prefer to thin it out, and then we're gonna cut it into strips and then bite-sized pieces. Now, I actually do not have a pot big enough to double this recipe and cook it all at the same time, which is really unfortunate. So we're gonna be doing 2 rounds. We're gonna be making the exact same recipe twice. And this recipe only takes about 30 minutes, so it's not too big of a deal to have to do that. But if you have a really big pot, then you might be okay. But I'm gonna go ahead and, I'm dirtying my knife and my cutting board, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut all of the meat at the same time for both recipes. I'm cutting these at an angle just because I like the way they look when they're cut at an angle, so feel free to cut them however you want. Completely fine, either way. All right, just to make a little more room on my cutting board, I'm gonna go ahead and get the chicken started in my pot right here. I am gonna take my salt and just season the chicken a bit with the salt. You could probably do this once it gets in your pan. All right, let's go into the oil with the chicken. And I'm just gonna go ahead and cook all of the chicken right now. You can definitely do this in batches. Well, actually, let me see what it looks like. I think I'm actually gonna do it in batches just to make sure we don't have overcrowding. We have a good saute on half of the chicken, so I'm gonna transfer to a plate and then do the second round. All right, again, we have our chicken that is nicely browned, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull that. Now, if your sausage is uncooked, you definitely wanna go ahead and cook it at this point. Since I'm gonna be adding it into the pasta and it's really just a reheat, I'm not worried about throwing that in right now. It's all gonna get heated up in this pot. All right, I have about 4 cloves of garlic. We're gonna quickly saute that, very quickly. And add in 4 cups or 1 quart of broth. This is bone broth. Feel free to use chicken broth. Okay, we want to scrape the bottom because anything that's at the bottom has extra flavor. My heat is on right about medium right now. Okay, I have about 2.5 cups of heavy cream that we are gonna add into this pot. And then about a tablespoon of Cajun seasoning. This is where you can make it less spicy if you wanna add less of that. And let's just stir all of that together and let that just come up to temperature. I'm gonna pour in 1 box of this penne pasta, and we are going to fully bring it up to a simmer. All right, friends, we have a simmer, so let's add in half of that sausage. Yours would already be in there if it was not fully cooked sausage. And again, I'm adding half because I am doubling this recipe. So I'm gonna be doing this exact same process again in about 20 minutes. And we're also gonna add back in half of the chicken. All right, stir all of that together. And I'm gonna turn my heat to low and put a lid on this, and it's gonna cook for about 15 to 20 minutes. We're waiting on that pasta to get done. Noodles are softened. They're nice and al dente, so we can leave that lid off now. Now we need to add in the cheese so that we can make our sauce. Okay, so we need to turn our heat all the way off, and we're actually going to remove the pot from the heat. So I'm gonna back it up a little bit. And we're going to slowly add in our Parmesan cheese. Overall, we're using about 4 ounces of Parmesan, but you don't wanna add it all in at one time. They don't mix well when you do that, so you gotta go slow. Okay, I am adding parsley because I feel like it needs color. Also, it is not spicy at all. I mean, you could definitely go heavier on the Cajun seasoning. Cajun doesn't necessarily mean spicy, but if you want it to be a little spicier, if you want a little more Cajun flavor, feel free to top it with some more of that. Okay, while that was sitting and the sauce is thickening up, I went ahead and got everything ready over here for round 2. So this is gonna come together really quick, but let's get the pasta into this travel container. Go all in. It looks delicious. Actually, you know what? Let me just put a little bit in a bowl so that I can taste it on camera for you guys. All right, we got a little bit over here separated, and I'm gonna top this with parsley just so it looks really pretty. Oh, we left a sausage in there. Don't wanna do that. Amazing. All right, now we just cover with foil and it's ready to travel. All right, before I wrap this up, if the sauce is almost just thick enough, it's almost there, so I'm leaving it uncovered just for a couple more minutes. Let's give this a taste. I'm gonna taste the sausage and see how spicy the sausage is. All right, the sausage packs a little heat. The sauce is really flavorful, good flavor on the chicken. This is very good. I like this one a lot. Honestly, the sauce is really not that spicy, but that chicken sausage that I used is. So you could absolutely make this and it's still gonna be Cajun, but not spicy Cajun if you just don't use a spicy sausage. But very good, good flavor, super easy to make. All right, friends, you'll have to excuse my appearance. This is one of those, I'm gonna be making several different things in the kitchen today and be in here all day long, so I am fully prepared for a workout and having my oven on for hours. So here we are. This is an inexpensive way and an easy way to feed several mouths. We're gonna start right now by making some baked ziti, and this is one that is so good. It always comes together very, very well. People love it, and I think it's so tasty. Whenever I'm making something like this, I like to get everything prepped and ready to go. I like to prep all of my ingredients, everything, so that it's ready to just assemble into large pans. So we're gonna start by doing that. I'm cooking up this sausage. I've got some sweet Italian sausage and some mild ground sausage. You can use whatever kind you want. You can also use ground beef. You could use a mixture of ground beef and Italian sausage, however you wanna do it. Based on what my grocery store had this week and what was on sale, I decided to go with an all sausage version because it was gonna be a little bit cheaper to go that way. I'm actually cooking up 3 pounds of ziti noodles. We've got 3 pounds boiling, and then I will drain those off and have those ready to go. While our noodles cool down a little bit, we're gonna go ahead and make up our ricotta mixture. We're gonna add in about 3 cups, maybe even 3.5 cups of ricotta to this bowl. And I'm gonna add in 4 eggs. You can go with 3. I'm gonna go ahead and do 4 because this is a little over 3 cups. If you're just using 3 cups, it's basically like an egg per cup. We're also adding in some Parmesan cheese, and I need about a cup to a cup and a half. It might even be a good idea to go ahead and start mixing before you add the Parmesan. I mean, it's not a big deal either way, but just get that started up. And now we will mix all of this together until it's nice and smooth. And this will be another ingredient added into the ziti. While I'm mixing this together, if you want to make this even less expensive, you could go with a meatless version, and that's completely fine. Honestly, like I said, the sausage, I believe it was, when I purchased it, it was actually buy one, get one free. So the sausage ended up being not very expensive at all, which was great. So I was able to make a version with meat in it. But that's one of those things that you can make a great ziti without having any meat at all. So I'm gonna add the sausage back into this pot, and we're gonna make up our sauce. You do not have to make a homemade sauce. You can just buy your favorite pasta sauce, spaghetti sauce, marinara sauce, whatever it is that you love, and use that. I typically make up my own because I actually think that, especially in this kind of case, it can end up being less expensive depending on what your favorite sauce is. And I feel like I can make a ton of it, and it's really easy. It's mostly things that I have on hand as far as spices and stuff go. So I usually just make our own, and we really like the taste of it. To make our sauce, I use a mixture of crushed tomatoes, petite diced tomatoes, and tomato sauce. Those are the 3 tomato bases that I use, and we're gonna be making a lot of this, okay guys? Let's go ahead and add in the can of tomato sauce. With the petite diced tomatoes, I do usually drain off a little bit just so it doesn't get too watery. I will have a recipe in the description box so that you can click on that and you can adjust it to whatever size you need. The next thing we always add is Italian seasoning, and I'm gonna be adding a lot because this is a huge amount, okay? You can also add oregano. There is some in the Italian seasoning, but that's up to you. If you really like that flavor, you can add more of it, and I do, so I typically add more. I also add both onion and garlic powder. You can also add onion. You could saute some onion and add that. We are not doing that, but feel free to, that's totally fine. We're also gonna add in some minced garlic, and that might be overkill, but I feel like that really enhances the flavor of this sauce. I also love adding Worcestershire. That's just a preference, you don't have to. This ingredient is a bit controversial, but feel free to add it if you want. We're adding a little bit of sugar. It doesn't need too much, it just cuts the acidity a bit. I'm not even gonna worry about heating this because it's all gonna get heated up. But honestly, I do feel like if you have time, the longer that this sauce simmers on the stovetop, the more those flavors just really come together. So don't be afraid to do that if you have the time. You wanna mix this together with the sausage that you cooked up, and we're actually gonna mix this in a big pot only because I don't have a bowl big enough to fit all of the sauce that we're making. So it's all gonna go into a pot and just mix together. At this point, my goal here is to have some sort of an assembly line so that it is easy to fill our containers. I am using these because we are taking them to, we are actually having a family night dinner at church. So I'm using these so that I can easily transport them, and they fit inside those big sterno things. You can either drizzle your pan with olive oil or you can spray them. Okay, so now we're gonna start adding pasta to our pan. If it's 1 box of pasta, you wanna do about half of the pasta at the bottom, then you're gonna add some more ingredients, and then you're gonna add the other half into another layer. Now I have 3 boxes that we're using, so mine's gonna look a little different, not so much half. I think I'm gonna end up with 3 pans of this. We'll see how that goes. And then I'm gonna add sauce on top of here. Now you can just go ahead and combine your sauce and your noodles. I just don't have a bowl big enough to do that, okay? But you're gonna stir together your pasta and your noodles. Okay, so now we're gonna take our ricotta and we're just gonna add it's kind of runny, so you're able to spread it out. You can just add dollops. You don't have to worry about spreading it out or anything. And like I said, I have more ricotta, so I can easily make more. Okay, now we are going to take provolone cheese and we're gonna create a layer of provolone. I think about 6 pieces for this layer. I might add a little more if we end up having it. Fill in any gaps here, making sure we got a good layer of cheese. Now, another layer of pasta. Actually, let me add some sauce into here. I went ahead and combined some of the pasta with the sauce in a separate bowl. So we're gonna add more ricotta to this layer. I filled this one pretty full. I might go a little less on the other pans just so that the foil isn't touching the cheese. I mean, it's not a huge deal. It's gonna stick a little bit. You can spray the underside of the foil, but it'll be nice to not have to worry about that too. So you're gonna add foil to this because you are gonna bake it in the oven for about this, honestly, it says 30 minutes, but these are pretty big pans. So probably closer to 45 minutes or so on 375. Then you'll take the foil off and broil them. Also topping this with mozzarella cheese. And there you go. It's basically ready for the oven at this point. So you wanna bake this for about 40 minutes on 350 degrees covered. Then you're gonna put it under the broiler because you want that cheese to get that nice browning on the top. That's so beautiful and it adds that extra flavor to the cheese. So just a couple minutes on broil and you're gonna get this right here. Look how good this looks. Oh my goodness. This is one of those meals that is so versatile. You can cook it that night. You can freeze it, make it for later, have it available for a night when you're busy. You can make it for tons of people. If you have a big crowd coming over, it feeds so many. It's cheesy. The pasta is perfectly cooked. You've got all these wonderful flavors. It can serve so many people if you need it to, or you can cut it down and serve just a few. I like to top this with a little bit of greenery, some parsley, or maybe even some basil if you have it, just because it makes it so beautiful. But the flavors, you guys, so good. Before we get started on this next recipe, I have a little note. I'm gonna be making the stovetop version of this. However, if you would like to make these in the big pans, the aluminum pans, the 9x13 pans, whichever pans you like, and you wanna make it all in the oven so that you can serve it casserole style, you can do that as well. So it's either gonna be a one-pot meal, depending on how many people you're serving, or it's gonna be a casserole style, and everything just gets dumped into the casserole dish. So it's the exact same recipe, except you're gonna bake it on 375, tightly covered with aluminum foil for about 40 to 50 minutes. It really depends on how big of a casserole you're making. So you just really wanna start watching it around the 35-minute mark or so. Check it, make sure that the rice is completely done, but otherwise it's the same recipe. It's so easy to just dump everything into that casserole dish and then you can serve it buffet style. We are going to make a sausage and rice skillet that is always a crowd pleaser in our house. Everybody loves all of the ingredients in this and they are always really excited once it gets to the table. Let's add a little bit of oil into our pan and start to get that heated up. All right, now if you're using a smoked sausage for this, it's gonna take a little less effort, but this is an Italian sausage. I'm just gonna cut this into bite-sized pieces, and obviously you can do this with a knife if that's what you prefer, but this is just so easy to do like this. Now, if it's a smoked sausage, it's gonna hold its shape because it's really already cooked. So you're just sauteing it. I'm actually cooking my sausage. Another thing you can do is saute your links first and then cut them afterward. I like to get a good sear on all of these, so that's why I'm choosing to do it this way. All right, the sausage is nice and cooked, so we are going to add in some garlic cloves. It's about 3 cloves. This doesn't really take long at all. We're just gonna let this garlic saute for just a minute. And you have some of that oil left in there from your sausages that have been cooking up, and that is gonna add so much flavor. The thing I like to do before I put in all the liquid is add in my rice, and that's just so it can toast up a little bit before adding all the other stuff. So just let your rice toast for a minute or two, and it just adds so much extra flavor. It's soaking up all those flavors at the bottom there. I'm gonna add in this can of fire roasted diced tomatoes and green chili. I've been really enjoying the fire roasted one lately though, so that's the one I've been choosing. We have 2.5 cups of chicken broth, and all of this is gonna go in. For the spices, let's add about a teaspoon of paprika. I'm adding only about 1/8 to 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne. You can go more if you want more heat. And we're adding a little bit of salt and pepper, just about a teaspoon or so, half teaspoon or so. All right, let's let all this mix together. We're gonna turn up that heat and let it come to a boil. All right, we have a boil, and that is what we want. So let's put the lid on. I'm gonna turn it down to a simmer. And let's let this cook for about 20 minutes. All right, we have a perfect one-pot meal. Rice is done, sausage in there. I'm gonna top it with some parsley. That parsley just adds beautiful color, right? Look how good it looks. Let's give this a taste. You know, I love adding the green on the top. You gotta have that little bit of color. You've got that sausage in there, the red from the tomatoes. So good. It's really hot. That's literally the perfect amount of savory versus spice. The heat is absolutely perfect. I love this one. It's so hearty and heartwarming to me. This is always a winner in my book. Our verse today comes from Hebrews 4:16. Let us approach then God's throne of grace with confidence, so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in our time of need. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know so many people have different events coming up. You've got people coming over. Your house is gonna be full with all the holiday festivities. So I hope this helps you plan and prepare for having additional people over. These are so easy to make and so good. Don't forget to check out the link in my description box to Instacart, your holiday rescue app. Have a great week.